Welcome to English Hero. I'm so glad you're here with me today. My name is Sam, and on this podcast, we learn English together, step by step, exploring fascinating stories and big ideas that help us grow as learners and as people. If you're a curious mind who loves thinking about life's mysteries, or you just want to improve your English while learning something truly amazing, you're in the right place. Today, I want to take you on a journey across time and space into the very beginning of the universe. We'll talk about how the universe began, why we exist, and what different people believe about it. This is one of those topics that always gets me thinking, because when you look up at the night sky and see all those stars, it's hard not to wonder, where did all this come from? Why are we here? And how do we even begin to understand it all? Let's start with a story. Imagine you're sitting outside one night, far away from city lights. The sky above you is full of stars, so many that you lose count. Some of those stars are so far away that their light has traveled for millions of years just to reach your eyes tonight. It's wild to think about, right? And it makes you realize just how huge and mysterious our universe really is. Now, throughout history, people have tried to answer the big questions about where the universe came from and why it exists. Different cultures and religions have their own stories and beliefs. In Islam, for example, it's believed that Allah is the creator of everything. The Quran teaches that Allah created the heavens and the earth and everything in between. According to the Quran, the universe was created in 6 days and everything in it has a purpose. What strikes me about this is that the Quran doesn't just tell us to accept things blindly. It actually encourages us to think, to learn, and to explore the world around us so we can see the signs of Allah's power. I find that really interesting, because it's almost like an invitation to be curious. The more you look at the world, the more you notice how everything fits together, the way plants grow, how animals survive, the way our own bodies work. It all seems so carefully designed. But let's switch gears for a second and look at how scientists study the universe. Science is all about asking questions, running experiments, and looking for evidence. One of the most important ideas in science about the beginning of the universe is called the Big Bang Theory. According to this theory, about 13 billion years ago, the universe started as a very small, hot, and dense point. Then suddenly it exploded. And from that explosion, the universe began to grow, forming stars, planets, and galaxies. Just think about that for a second. Everything you see, the Earth, the Sun, the Moon, every star in the sky, came from that one tiny point. It's honestly mind-blowing. And what's even more amazing is that scientists have found evidence to support this idea. For example, they've discovered that galaxies are moving away from each other, which means the universe is still expanding, even today. But here's where things get even more interesting. Science can explain a lot about how the universe began, but it can't really answer the question of why the Big Bang happened in the first place, or what caused it. That's still a mystery that many scientists and philosophers are still trying to solve. Some scientists look at the universe and see so much order, beauty, and complexity that they believe there must be a creator. They see the laws of physics, the way everything works together, and they think this can't be an accident. Others, though, want proof that can be tested and repeated. They believe that natural processes like evolution can explain how life changed over time without needing a creator. Let's talk about evolution for a moment, because it's another big idea in science. The theory of evolution says that simple life forms changed over millions of years to become more complex creatures like humans. Evolution explains how living things adapt and survive, but it doesn't really answer the question of why life started in the first place. That's still one of the biggest mysteries out there. So we're left with some really big questions. Why does anything exist at all? Why is there something instead of nothing? These are questions that have puzzled people for thousands of years. Many thinkers say that there must be a first cause, something that started everything but was not created itself. For believers, this first cause is Allah or God. For others, it's still a mystery. What I love about this topic is that it brings together science, philosophy, and faith. No matter what you believe, learning about the universe opens your mind to new possibilities and helps you understand life in a deeper way. Let's go back to that night under the stars for a second. When you look up and see all those tiny points of light, you're actually looking back in time. Some of those stars are so far away that their light left them before humans even existed. It's a reminder of how big and old the universe is and how small we are in comparison. But at the same time, it makes me feel connected to something much bigger than myself. I remember the first time I learned about the Big Bang Theory in school. My teacher explained that the universe is still expanding and that everything we see today started from a single point. I was amazed and honestly, a little confused. How could everything come from nothing? Where did that first point come from? And what was there before the universe existed? These are tough questions, and the truth is nobody really knows the answers. But that's okay. Part of being human is asking questions, exploring, and trying to understand the world around us. That's how we learn and grow. Now, let's talk about how different people approach these big questions. In Islam, as I mentioned earlier, the Quran teaches that Allah created everything with a purpose. Muslims are encouraged to seek knowledge, to study the world, and to look for signs of Allah's power in nature. That's why throughout history, many great scientists and thinkers have come from Muslim cultures. They saw science as a way to understand God's creation. On the other hand, science looks for answers through observation and experiment. Scientists don't just accept things because someone says they're true. They want evidence. That's why they use telescopes to look at distant galaxies or microscopes to study tiny cells. They collect data, run tests, and try to build a picture of how things work. But even with all our technology and knowledge, there are still so many things we don't know. For example, scientists still don't know exactly what happened in the first moments after the Big Bang. They don't know what dark matter is or why the universe is expanding faster and faster. There are so many mysteries left to solve. What strikes me about all this is that both science and religion encourage us to ask questions and search for answers. They might use different methods, but at the end of the day, they're both about trying to understand the world and our place in it. Let's look at some examples of how people combine science and faith. There are scientists who believe in God because they see the beauty and order of the universe as proof of a creator. For example, Isaac Newton, one of the greatest scientists in history, believed that studying the universe was a way to get closer to God. On the other hand, there are scientists who don't believe in God, and they're comfortable with the idea that some things might always be a mystery. I think it's important to respect different points of view. We all have our own ways of making sense of the world, and that's what makes life interesting. Let's talk a little more about evolution. The idea that life changes over time is supported by lots of evidence, fossils, DNA, and the way animals adapt to their environments. But evolution doesn't answer every question. It can't tell us why life exists or what our purpose is. Those are questions that science can't answer, at least not yet. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to travel back in time and see the beginning of the universe. What would it look like? Would it be silent or full of sound? Would there be light or just darkness? It's hard to imagine, but thinking about it makes me realize how much there is to learn. Let's bring it back to the present for a moment. No matter what you believe about the beginning of the universe, learning about it can help you see the world in a new way. It can make you more curious, more thoughtful, and more open-minded. And it can help you appreciate the beauty and complexity of life. I want to leave you with a few thoughts. First, never stop asking questions. The universe is a big, mysterious place, and there's always more to learn. Second, be open to different ideas. You don't have to agree with everyone, but listening to other points of view can help you grow. And finally, remember that you are part of this amazing universe. You have a place in the story, and your curiosity and wonder are what make you human. Thank you for joining me today on English Hero. I hope you enjoyed this journey through the universe and the big questions of existence. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll see you next time.